YouTube, welcome back to another video from Wtf Rc Cars. So, Dragon Hammer, 5th scale, and basically we've got a bit of a weird issue with the way that the servos and the receiver and everything's powered. And there's quite a lot of really thin wires in the circuit that goes to the power switch and then through the voltage readout. So what we're getting is a situation where if I'm running it on the standard NIM battery and we get all the lights on, if you turn the servos really quickly, so it's putting a lot of load on it, the LEDs start to sort of flicker and go off but then come back on. So we kind of get in a situation where you like getting mini brownouts in it all the time. So what we've got is a receiver that can run 12 volt, high voltage servos, and we're running it on a standard NIM pack, 5000 milliamp hour. But what I'm going to have a look at is making up a direct power harness or running a UBC and a 3S LiPo. I'm going to have a quick look and see which way we're better off going with this. We're quite lucky with the Dragon Hammer because you've got 3 separate boxes. You've got a receiver box, you've got another box at the back, and then you've got a battery compartment box. So let's have a look, see what we can do about giving it a better power delivery system. So let's crack on with it. Right, so first thing we're going to do, we got 2 screws at front here, and I'm going to get them out just to make it easier so we can remove the entire top shell. Right, so that's these 2 screws removed, and once we get them out we can take the entire body off, and we've just got the little connection at the front, and that's for the lights. So next thing we're going to need to do is, if we turn the front wheels, we can remove the first battery tray. So that gets this off, and the first issue we've got with sort of the smaller wiring is into the voltage readout. So I'd like to keep that so we can still have voltage monitoring at battery, but we've also got the Flysky radio gear in it. So this is the stock battery system that we're running at the moment, and if it doesn't work just making it direct power, then I'm going to be looking to swap this for a 3S LiPo. And the Dragon Hammer does have a massive battery tray, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. But let's get you in for a closer look on this so you can see what we're working on. Right, so that is our main power feed, and it's just got tape over it because the battery sits in there as well. That's powering through to the receiver, but if you look at the size of these wires, and this is the little harness that comes with the Dragon Hammer, they are tiny, and the wires that go into the voltage readout are about twice the gauge, and also the wires that we've got on the servo, let's see if I can get you them in the same shot. So if you look how thin these wires are compared to the actual wires that are on the servos and the rest of the radio gear, but it's just a pass through and these wires are tiny. So first thing I'm going to do is try and make a much more heavy duty one of these up and see if that fixes the issue, because we're basically just running direct power to the receiver, so we may get away with not having to make a separate direct power harness for the RC, because we are using the Flysky FGR4 and they can handle up to 12 volt, so it's not a problem for running as high power servos. So let's get one of them made up and see if we can make it any better. Right, so after looking a bit more into how this thing's wired, I think what I'm going to do is take this plug off there entirely and just put a normal servo plug on it and literally just have that reading the voltage, and then I'm going to rewire this to be the actual power feed for the 5th scale servos and receiver and everything. So first thing we need to do is get this connector off here, because there's no point whatsoever it being here. So we should be able to cut down on a whole bunch of this random wiring that we've got running all over the Dragon Hammer. And you're quite safe cutting through both them because there's no power running through them at all. So we'll get rid of that, and then what I'm going to do is put the opposite plug directly on this, so we can just connect the two together. We need one of those connection pieces without a tab on. So first thing I'm going to do is get the crimps put onto positive and negative on the voltage reader. It's really rubbery wire and insulation on these. That's better. So that's got its connectors on. Then you can have a look at which way that is going to sit into the actual plug housing itself. So as tabs go to the top. So we're going to want negative to the outside, positive to the inside. Right, so rather than having the horrible Y connector with the tiny thin wires, what we should have now is we can plug the voltage reader in on itself, and we've got the switch that I put in place quite a while ago. So we're going to get us voltage readout once the battery cover's put on the Dragon Hammer. Now I want to look at getting this to be the main power feed for the servos and receiver. So what options do we have? We do have an old Tamiya style plug, but these are a pain in the backside to charge and everything, because I haven't really got anything that uses them. So I think the best approach on this is going to be to remove this battery lead altogether, the plug, and we're going to get a decent, or a far better designed plug on here. And I think purely because I do have other batteries that run it, I think I'm going to be tempted to go for either the EC5s or the rock crawler we've got is running on the XT60s, so I may go that route. So basically now we have the XT60s running a much thicker power cable, and that goes directly to the receiver, and then we've still got us servos plugged in the conventional way, and then rather than this, which used to branch off with some really thin wires to this and then to the receiver, we've now just got a standard servo plug, and that's just powering the voltage readout. These wires here are just for a switch, just to let me power the voltage readout off when I've powered the car down. That switch that's the one that completely disconnects the receiver and everything. So certainly looks like it's going to work a whole lot better this way round, but we'll give it a try. I'm going to have a look at the specs of these servos and then see if it's going to be worth us upping it to a 2S LiPo or a 3S LiPo and a UBC, which I can mount in there to drop the voltage to the receiver and the servos. I think if I am going LiPo route, I think I'd probably go 3S and a UBC, and then it's getting 8.4 volt constantly, as opposed to just going 2S LiPo and it being 8.4 volt just when the battery's fully charged. But let's get back to the studio and wrap this one up. Right, so what we've got now is the XT60s running directly to the receiver power and everything, and then all the tiny little lead is doing is giving us the voltage readout, but we no longer have lights going off when we're moving steering, which is good. I need to get this battery charged because it's not really charged very much. But yeah, definitely going to try it running this way. Obviously getting far less voltage drop because the lights aren't going off when we're trying to steer. So let's see if we can wrap this up and make a bit of sense for you. Right, so bit of a different video, bit of a different jumper. It's a little bit cold here today. So that's how we've got it set up to start with now. We're going to try it that way. It seems to be working fine. If I want to go LiPo, I'm leaning more towards the 3S and a BEC, but at the minute may not be necessary. You're definitely going to get better performance out of your servos if you're doing it that way. You can go 2S LiPo, but then you're only getting 8.4 volt when it's very full charged and fresh battery. So the entire time you're using your fifth scale, it's going to get slower and slower servos and less powerful, which is not ideal. So I think if I do go the BEC route, I'll probably go a 3S battery, and I'm either going to run this one or the Hobbywing one we've got. This one will do 8 amp constant, 16 amp max. These are about £7, I think, £7 or £8 delivered. And they are slightly bigger footprint. But the other option we've got is we do have one of the Hobbywing BECs. I think, if I remember rightly, I've currently got it. Yeah. So we're currently using it on the Servo test rig. So I've got it wired into that at the moment, but we shall have to see. But thanks again for watching WTF Rc Cars. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share to friends and family or anybody else you might find finds this useful. I'll catch you guys again in the next one.